What is good, everybody? It's your boy Darkstar, and I am back with another episode of Darkstar Talks. And I got my as usual friend to the show, Johnny D.
How's everybody doing?
And yeah, so today, kind of doing a little bit of an impromptu show. Gonna talk about what happened with Scott Adams, the guy who created Dilbert. He's in a lot of hot water right now for something I said. But to provide context, apparently there was like some type of poll on Twitter, I think it was, where they were asking black people, is it okay to be for white people to be okay to like being white? I guess something along those lines. And it was like 53% of black people on Twitter agreed. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 40. My math is crap, but the other 40 something percent didn't agree. And one of the things he did say was like, what he said that's getting them under hot water was like, if basically to tell white people to basically get away from, stay away from black people, something along those lines. Yeah, I don't know if I'm quoting it right.
I think what he was like saying is try to stay away from like people who have that mentality, but he didn't say that. What he said was stay away from black people who think that way, which
Yeah,
when you say that you're really becoming problematic because it's one thing to say stay away from people who have certain hurtful ideologies. I agree with that. If you're so far off the rails that I think what you think um, could do harm to me or to people that I care about, like yeah, I don't need you in my life. I had, one guy who told me he was a proud boy. I'd known this guy for years, and the moment he
whoa,
told me, he's like, "Yeah, I'm
what the
proud boy." I was like,
fuck?
"Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I got stuff to do, and blah blah blah." And he never was allowed in my home ever again.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a bit extreme. God damn, but
and with
yeah, I know.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say what's crazy about this guy, dude, is like one of the first times I met him. He had just come back from Standing Rock, like he was out there with the native people protesting and shit like that. And it's just like he went down this dark internet rabbit hole where he went from just super left liberal everything down just this dark freaking hole to where it was like I said, I got to a point where I didn't want anything to do with him. And
Yeah.
it's like that's where I see like this Dilbert guy as something of a cautionary tale where it's like I don't condone this type of shit. I do think that this guy needs to go away until he gets right. That's just how I feel about that. I'm normally not in favor of the whole canceling thing, but in this case, fuck him. He's canceled.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know for me, like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, how should I put it? Do I think what he said was fucked up? Yes, very fucked up, very very fucked up. Because there are just some things I just think you should keep it to yourself. However, do I think he is racist? Well, that one is like it's debatable. I can't really say he is, but I will say he is very bigoted, very prejudiced, and he was very ignorant in what the fuck he said. Very fucking ignorant. And then also, like when I'm really thinking about it, like I want to play devil's advocate a little bit on this one. If let's say the roles were reversed and we had a black person and the roles were reversed, let's say we had a black person that said the same thing along those lines, but it was, is it okay to be black? And you had, same thing, like 50% of people, 50% of white people said, yeah, it's okay to be black, and the other people didn't. And somebody said that shit. And he said the same thing, stay the fuck away from white people. Like, would we still, would this be, would it get this much attention? Would it garnish this much smoke as it does right now? It's just something I thought about for a little bit.
well, to me, like one of the last things I watched from Eddie Griffin, he had put out this comedy special. I was like, "Fuck, dude, I love Eddie Griffin. Can't wait to see this." I started watching it. I was kind of enjoying it, and I stopped enjoying it when I realized that there was no like racial back and forth. Like you normally you say something bad about these people, and you say bad about the other people, and then it's good, and it's there's a lot of back and forth that makes like that used to be the rule about racial based comedy, and it's somewhere along the lines Eddie Griffin. It is Griffin, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and what's the other fucker's name? Hispanic. George Lopez. To me, they forgot that somewhere along the lines. And when
yeah.
they're up there and you keep saying white people are terrible because blank and my people are great because blank, and you're not in that group, it quickly stopped becoming funny, man. And it was just like it got about
Yeah.
15 minutes into his bit. I'm like, all right, I guess I can only watch the old stuff now. Like shit, I was just like, this isn't good, and it kind of made me feel some type of way. And the thing is, there was a lot of people who said that, and there was no consequences, no cancel, no
Right.
slap on the wrist. Nobody said nothing to nobody. Dave Chappelle didn't come out and do a funny bit about it.
Right.
Like
I was
nothing
getting ready to
happened.
say that. I was getting ready to mention Dave Chappelle. Like that, but to be fair, Dave Chappelle talks about everybody. He don't give a
Right.
fuck. But at the same time, when he says something about white people or Latino people or Asian people, no one bats an eye.
Right. But the thing
But
is, he's also balanced because he talks
yeah,
about all
exactly.
people.
That's what I was gonna say.
And he says positives about all peoples as well. You know,
Yeah,
he's not versus when you're only saying positives about one people and only negatives about another, and there's no balance. It's like,
at that
dude, you're
point, yeah, you gotta go.
and so like to me, you can be pretty damn racist if you're not white, and that's acceptable. And the thing that I'm always going to bring up that angers me is the double standard when it comes to voice acting. A lot of people are calling for Khan to be recast in King of the Hill, and I just never saw a problem with Khan. I even
No,
saw this.
what the fuck?
I even saw a few people who said that they like Laotian people, people who were Laotian. They're like, everybody in our family loved it because of the like the opening scene where it's like, are you Chinese or Japanese? And he's like, I'm Laotian, and that whole shit. They're like, everybody thought that was hilarious because that was their life experience. That was literally dealing with white people trying to explain to them that there's options beyond Chinese and Japanese. So
Right, dude. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I was gonna say
no, no,
I
no,
got a
but
whole.
you get it. You get
Yeah,
it.
I get it because I have a friend. I have a friend that I was in the army with that just he happened to be Laotian, and the whole time we were thinking like, is this like I honestly didn't know. I thought he was actually like Pacific, like Samoan or something like that, and he was Laotian. Very cool fucking dude. Very laid back fucking dude. Like cool as fuck, you know. And he didn't even get offended by that easily. In fact, he actually when I one time when I said Laotian, I'm like the dude from King of the Hill. I didn't mean to sound like an asshole when I said it. And he was like, yeah, and he actually happened to like that character Khan from King of the Hill. Like he thought the character was actually very funny. You know what I mean? Like he actually liked the character. He didn't give a fuck if the character was voiced by some white dude or black dude. Like my thing is, oh, dude, like this thing when it comes to that shit, I'm just like, people just gotta fucking chill with the whole, oh, if this person is this race, it has to be voiced by like no, it shouldn't even fucking matter because by that logic, we should recast Aquaman on Young Justice and fucking the Injustice games because he's voiced by a black guy.
Oh, did you hear some of the voice announcements today for the new TMNT Mutants Unleashed or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I heard about that. That was a little. I don't know how I feel about some of those choices, honestly. I'll be
Uh,
honest about that.
I'm in love with Baxter Stockman. The decision for Giancarlo Esposito
Oh, that's
to,
perfect casting. That's perfect casting. Like,
but yeah, but they just got through. Like April is going to be presumably presented as a white character, but is going to be voiced by a black actor, and I
yeah,
don't give a shit.
yeah, I
I
don't
don't,
either.
and because she's grandfathered in because of all the she was originally supposed to be black. Even if the character is portrayed as black, I still don't give a shit.
I don't either,
Like
dude.
again, it's that character's grandfathered in. What can you say about it?
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
And even then, like, I don't think, to be honest, I don't think most people really care about April being being race swapped either. Personally, I used to, but then it's like when I go back and I look at the original TMNT, I'm just like, why should we even care? The point is the character is included in there. They didn't do her a disservice. If anything, you know, she was still just like how she was in the comic book. So what's the issue?
Right, but it's
You
like
know?
that type of stuff happens all the time where people of color are still allowed to voice whatever race, creative, this, that, and the other thing, and it's fine. But it's like, dude, there's one standard. Either it is or it isn't. And when you start having standards that are against white people, it's like it starts making me feel some type of way. And like this is how to take it back to the Dilbert thing. Like this is how people like that go. People like my friend who went from standing with Native Americans to being calling himself a proud boy. Like it happens because of disenfranchisement. You start to not feel welcome. You know, um, and it's little things like that, little microtransactions, if you
Yep.
will, against white people, where that they stack up, they stack up, they stack up. And I think what's especially aggravating for me is it's not about the now; it's about the 10 years from now. If things
Yeah.
continue the way they're going, and you're still allowed to say ugly things about white people with impunity. You're still allowed to say, I'd much rather hire people of color. And it's like, dude, my son is coming up into high school. He's getting very creative. He's wanting to take pictures. He's wanting to look into cinematography. I don't know where
No
he's going to
shit.
land on all this, but like he could want to, do some of that stuff. And I'll
Really?
be
That's what's
I'll
up.
I'll be there to support him, and he's a pretty darn good musician. So if he decides that he wants to pursue that, I'll invest in good recording equipment for him. Like I don't like whatever he wants to do, man. I'm going to support that creatively. And it's what really sucks is for the media and popular people to say, well, there's enough creative white people out there. It's time to give people of color. But it's like, dude, my son deserves a chance, just like any other kid does.
Yeah,
I
I
deserve
agree
a
with that,
chance.
bro. I agree with that. Like, if you have some type of creative property and you want to bring it to the table, bring it to the fucking table, dude. Like, let's stop doing this shit where we want to start holding people back just because, oh, we have too many white people that are being creative. Oh, all this shit. Like, do y'all ever think that maybe is because they're actually bringing their creations to the forefront and they're not letting shit like their race or their gender holding them the fuck back from being able to do, or their sexual orientation holding them back from doing what it is they want to create? You know what I mean? Like, they're not letting any of that shit hold them back. And I think that's something that, and this is like how I was raised. I just think, and I'm just saying, I'm just speaking for black people. I guess black people, we need to stop letting shit like our skin color holding us the fuck back from being able to do shit. And I think parents need to stop fucking telling their kids they're fucking victims. Stop painting this whole picture that, oh, you're gonna be overlooked because you're black. Oh, you're gonna be overlooked because you're Latino. No, stop that shit. Like, I'm glad that cycle ended. I'm glad my mom ended that fucking cycle when I grew up. As I was growing up, my mom fucking ended that shit. My mom raised me to just to be put my mind set my mind to anything and I could fucking do it. You know what I mean? She basically had me set that mind frame that I shouldn't let my skin color stop me from being able to achieve whatever dream I want to achieve, because it can be done. You're just gonna have to work a little extra harder, but it can be done. Sure, there's going to be barriers along the way, but you need to be able to break through those barriers. It is on you how you break those barriers. You can't sit here and expect everybody to hand shit out to you. You can't expect everybody to give you a participation trophy. If you want something, you got to work for it. That's just what it is. That's the way the world is built. That's the way the world works. We need to stop giving people fucking handouts and start working for what it is we want. You know what I'm saying?
And I feel like some people really have this mentality of they deserve to be put to the front of the line because they're creative and they are X, they're black, they're gay, whatever and it's like that doesn't your creativity solely is what puts you at your position in line. And well, I shouldn't say that. It's also your ability to get out there and put yourself out there, your ability to
Yeah,
market
and
yourself. It's
you
those
know what I
two
gotta
things
say?
combined.
Yeah, you know what I gotta say to people that think they need to be put in front of the line because of shit like that? You wanna know what I gotta say to that? is this. That's pretty much all I gotta say to those people.
Yeah, precisely. And
Pretty
it's
much.
just like they're it becomes silly. And like I said, the thing is like there are times, man, when I've kind of just spent a little too much time on the internet and I'll read too much negative comments about this, that, and the other thing. Like I start feeling a little hateful, and I start feeling like it becomes like I feel like when is this ever going to stop? When is this ever going to go like this anti-white sentiment? It's like it feels like it's going to be a permanent thing, that it's not this temporary moment in time, and it becomes very worrisome, like I said, because like I'm half Hispanic, but my son, he's all the way white, so he doesn't have any minority card to lean on the way I do. And
Yeah.
and also I don't like the fact that I have to lean on my minorityness to get my foot in the door. I don't want to have to open every sentence with as a biracial person, or as a Hispanic American, blah blah blah. I don't want to do all that. I just want
Dude,
to
yeah,
start talking.
that shit gets cringe when people do that shit. Cause it's like at that point, it's like, are you really being genuine right now, or are you trolling right now?
Right.
Like I hate when people do that because I just speak for me. You know, I'm not sitting up here saying as a black man, no. I'm just speaking for myself. And I wish more people would just start speaking for themselves and stop saying as a black person, I think that like no, just stop. Like, dude, I just don't get this shit. Like, do people not understand when we keep talking about racism, we keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, all you're doing is just giving the shit more power. I mean, growing up in the fucking 90s, man. You know why racism wasn't that big of a thing? You know why?
No
Because we
internet.
weren't, not just that, but we weren't sitting up here talking about it all day. You know? Motherfuckers won't sit up here talking about, oh, I didn't get the job because I'm black. Oh, I didn't get the job because I'm fucking Latino. No, we weren't doing all that shit. Hell, even as a kid, like I wasn't sitting up here thinking like, all people hate me because I'm black. I mean, the only time that ever happened to me was in middle school when I was raised in a freaking when I was in an all Latino neighborhood where the neighborhood was predominantly Latino. It was predominantly Mexican to be exact, because I was living in California, and you already know in California, Southern California, you're closer to the border,
Hmm.
and these kids didn't even bother asking me what my name is. Instead, they just kept calling me the N word. And when I'm sitting there, I'm taking it, and it got to a point where one day when I got off the bus, they started calling me the N word, and I beat the shit out this kid. Like I beat the fuck out of him to the point where after I beat his ass, I grabbed him by his fucking shirt and asked him, "What's my name?" You know? And he's like, "Well, I don't know." And I freaking slapped him. I said, "This is what my name is. This is how you're gonna address me every single time. You got that?" After that, I walked away. Anytime that dude saw me in public, instead of making eye contact, he looked down at the floor. That's how badly I beat his ass, to the point where he was looking down. I bet you he didn't utter the N word after that. But my point is this: is that I just think as a society we need to stop letting race. We need to stop giving power to racism, and how we do it. Just stop talking about it. You know what I mean? Just quit talking about it, because a lot of times it ain't even really what it seems.
And like I said, it's making shit worse, because it is the amount of, I think, racism. Like, have you ever watched any of the gangland shows where they talk
Yeah.
about like if you ever watch any of the ones that have to do with white gangs, anything, every fucking one of them tells you that it springs up from a group of racist white people recruiting
Mhm.
people who feel disenfranchised because they feel that they're being the ones who are racially targeted because they're in minority neighborhoods, whatever, whatever. But they pull in white people who feel discriminated against for being white, and they use that to build hatred. And that's exactly what's happening with online circles. Racist people are
Yep.
getting non-racist people to become racist. They're bringing them in by exploiting that feeling of, look at how they're treating you. You're on your way out the door. They're replacing white people with these people, and all these arguments become relevant in these people's minds because it starts reflecting little things that people see. And so it's like, if you want to stop this, stop allowing that to be reflected. Stop allowing it can't keep being normal to say ugly things against white people with impunity. It has to come to a point where we start holding one standard. And like I say, because there are times when I have felt super disenfranchised, and like it's usually because I'm stupid and I'll spend too much time on the internet, and I'll put it down, and
Yeah.
I'll start feeling better a couple days later, and I'm like, you know what? But there, and I become myself again. I become very grounded in reality. But there are times, man, when if and you keep reading shit like that, and you see how normal it is for people to dismiss white people or put them off in this little category, and you start thinking about, like I said, especially start thinking about the future. And it's like there are people who don't have the ability to come back from that. They feed into that, and that's what happened to like this Dilbert guy. Is enough shit kept happening. There are enough people kept saying, we don't need more white writers, we don't need more white creators, and shit like that. And when you're in the creative world and you keep hearing that, you're going to start feeling some type of way. And I do think things are going to correct themselves. I think I forget.
Yeah.
I think Bill Burr was talking about comedy where he's like, we needed to go over the line so that we could know where the line was, and eventually,
Yep. I heard that
eventually,
one.
it's
I
going to
heard that
balance
statement too.
back. And so I think
Yeah.
it's going to be the same thing. It is going to balance back, but a lot of what's going to make it bounce back is people like you and me standing up and saying, "Hey, things have gone too far. We need
Yeah.
to bring it back to the middle, and this needs to be our standard because I don't want to lose more white friends to being Proud Boys. I don't want that
You
to
know,
ever happen ever again." And
honestly, I'm just not trying to lose any friends over some bullshit like that. That's like the dumbest thing to do is lose friends over issues like this. Know what I mean?
right,
It's really dumb. You know what I mean? And those of you that are just joining us, I do want to let y'all know ahead of time. We are not excusing what the fuck that dude said.
not
We
at
are
all.
not fucking excusing that at all. Not even trying to justify it. So I just want to make that very clear. We are not excusing or justifying anything that dude said because at the end of the day, what he said was fucked up. It was wrong. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if you like this dude or not. Pardon my French. I don't care how y'all feel about this dude. At the end of the day, he was in the wrong. Sorry, I just had to get that out there.
Right,
I just had to get that out there.
and I do want to add a tiny bit to that too because it's like, yeah, like I said, just a reminder. We look at him as a cautionary tale that he's
Yes.
he's gone too far off the rail, and what we want to do is make people understand there's are a lot of people who are going down that path but haven't gone there yet, and it's important for more of us to kind of get out there and kind of like stop and be like, hey, think about this, think about that. A lot of the way
Yeah.
that's going to happen is not only talking sense into those people, but also talking sense into the people who are causing the disenfranchisement
Yep.
and standing up for that. And so, and also the second thing I will say is I do not believe in the notion of one being forever unclean. I do
Right.
think that with the exception of like very very heinous things, that people should be allowed to come back, that you should be allowed to rejoin society. I don't like the fact that like people still make fun of the actor who played Kramer. It's like, dude, he learned his lesson. That was a long fucking time ago. He deserved what he got at the time, but
Yes.
his sentence is served. You know,
Yeah. Like I just think this whole cancer culture shit. It just goes way too. It's just gone way too far because these days you can get canceled for for the littlest fucking things, man. For the littlest things,
and what
you
oh
know.
man, what killed me is like one of my favorite little TikTokers. I had to unfollow her because like it just annoyed the crap out of me, and it was like over the Roseanne thing. And again, I'm not defending Roseanne.
Ooh, no,
Roseanne dug
yeah,
her fucking grave, but I will say this: I don't like it when people feel the need to go back and say not only are they not great now, but they were never great, and let me prove it to you. And
ooh,
like
yeah, like,
one of the
dude,
most unhealthy things I've ever seen on the internet was in the wake of the J.K. Rowling thing. People would go and hate read her
yeah,
books and like and try to make it to where it's she's saying all these terrible things that she's not saying that they're building up in their mind. And it's like, dude, this is so unhealthy. If you don't like her, fine, but for you to hate read
right,
her material to try to go back and make her say not only is she bad now but she's always been bad, I don't like that. And this is what this creator was doing with Roseanne, when she's like talking about how Roseanne was the wicked witch in like some online perform and some on stage
the
performance. And
hell,
she, yeah, it was a long time ago, and but what she's basically saying is like her performance was this, her performance was terrible, and it's nothing compared to Eartha Kitt. But it's like, who has ever been able to outperform Eartha Kitt? Not Michelle
right, like, I'm
Pfeiffer, not Julie Newmar, not none of them.
no, no, like, come on, man, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say with the Catwoman shit in Eartha Kitt, okay? Eartha Kitt is already top tier, like, no one comes close. So I don't know why people try to freaking even throw that in a debate. Eartha Kitt does no one comes close to Eartha Kitt. They cannot touch it.
So it's like, yeah, of course
I
Eartha
had to
Kitt was
say
a
that, man.
better of course Eartha Kitt played the Wicked Witch better than Roseanne did. And yes, Roseanne's performance
Well,
was just her yelling, but it's like that was what she was famous for at the time. That's what people were paying to see. They
yeah,
wanted to
like
see
Eartha Kitt,
Roseanne be Roseanne, and they wanted to see
yeah,
Eartha
like
Kitt be Eartha Kitt. They're
Eartha
different
Kitt's on a whole different
performances.
level, bro.
And so it's like that's the thing that bothers me. It's not like it's not the yes, it's the yes and. Yes, she's
Yeah,
racist. I agree. But it's the yes, she's racist, and she's always been this, and she's always been terrible. And let me go and prove it to you. And it's like, but she wasn't, dude. And her show did a lot towards pushing for acceptance to the LGBT community because it was a show that was directed at middle white America, but it had
hmm,
gay characters in there, and it had
yep,
them written so well because like
hmm,
his characters was really just about butting heads with Roseanne. His character
right,
really didn't have a lot to do with being gay. There were a few, jokes about boyfriend, whatever, but for the most part, all the jokes came with like him and Roseanne just like throwing barbs at each other. And
yeah,
that was then what made that character so great. But like when he sitting at the poker table and he tells all the guys that he's gay, and they all have this kind of awkward ooh like kind of reaction that nobody would have today. It's like that was a reflection of America, and America needed to see that, and America needed to see
yeah,
this guy become a part of the thing. And it was like she did a really great fucking thing for the LGBT community at that time.
yeah,
And what's unfortunate is she got with a white supremacist boyfriend who started whispering things in her ear, and she allowed herself to become digmatized, and now, she ruined her career as a result.
yep,
And I do not support her, you know, for those reasons. But like I said, I like when you go back in time to dig up all that stuff, and some people might say, well, why is it such a big deal if she's the bad guy? Why not just let her be the bad guy? It's two things. One, can still pull her head out of her ass.
yeah,
That could happen. She could get rid of
yeah.
that boyfriend. She could meet her a young, tall, chocolate new boyfriend, and all of a sudden, after three good dickings,
This
she's like, you
guy,
know something?
this
She's like, you
fucking
know
guy,
something? I've been being racist, and I need to stop. Like she could get her shit together. That can happen. Probably won't, but it can.
never will.
So it's like she needs to have that room for forgiveness just in case, but also I don't like feeding into the idea of forever unclean because this starts talking because now you got to shift to social justice and um, the criminal justice system. And when you talk about all the stuff that Black Lives Matter attempts to talk about, or at least makes
Yeah,
money on talking about, and all the things that
bro,
I think
man,
I think that
I
most
ain't
of
gonna
us I think the core of it that most of us care about, which is like no more police brutality, no more storming into innocent people's homes, fucking killing them and shit like that. And but the thing is, when you talk about it, you really have to talk about the whole chain from the point in which a person is pulled over, whether or not they should have been pulled over, how they were
Right,
arrested, if they were arrested, how the arrest goes, the investigation, the judge, the all of it down to the jail system, the prison system, all of that.
right,
And it's like
right.
when
And I
like
can give you a perfect example of a situation like that where there was a traffic stop, right? And I told this story on one of my other streams, but I'm gonna tell it again. What happened was dude got pulled over, and this was like I want to say it was a few months ago, almost a year ago. Dude got pulled over because he had the plates on his car. The plates when they ran their plates, it didn't match the car. So a cop pulled him over, and instead of staying in the car, dude got out of the car, tried to confront the cop. A cop was telling him, "Please get back in your vehicle, sir." And the dude started wrestling the cop. Mind you, this was a okay. Just to give context, the cop was white, the guy was black, right? Started wrestling with the cop, and look at that point, the cop was trying to freaking detain him, and the dude kept trying to. First, the cop reached for his taser, shoots the dude with the taser while they're wrestling. Taser's not doing shit. And the cop is telling the dude, "Please, sir, stop resisting," while they're wrestling. Mind you, this is on dash cam and body cam. Okay, dude keeps wrestling and he keeps telling the dude, "Stop resisting." The guy goes reaching for the cop's gun. Okay, guy's reaching for the cop's gun, and the cop the whole time is telling him, "Please, sir, stop resisting, stop resisting." Dude gets manages to get somewhat of a hold of the cop's gun. Cop gets the gun, and they start wrestling for the gun, and the gun goes off, shoots the dude in the head, and the dude dies. And at that point, everybody was outraged, trying to blame the freaking police for this whole thing, and it's just kind of like, no, you're not. You're only getting pieces of it. You're not looking at the whole thing. And that's the thing where like I think some people get very blinded with a lot of that shit is that some people don't see everything from beginning to end. They only see it from middle to end and don't get enough context. You know what I mean? And
right.
then it's like at that point, the only reason but the thing I want to say about that too is that it's the media that spins that shit. The media spins it like that. Why do they do that? Because they want to see they basically they want people to give into the outrage. They want to incite outrage. They want to incite violence. They want to incite, segregation all over again. At
Well,
least
because
that's
that's how
my
they.
theory about it.
Well, because the
That's
thing
my
is, that's how they make their money. If
Oh
they
yeah, yeah.
presented if they presented the news in a way that would actually lead to the solution for problems. One of my favorite quotes from Theodore Roosevelt is to complain about something without offering a solution is called whining. And
Yep.
they will whine and
Facts.
whine all day, but never ever offer a solution because if they tried to offer a solution, what would happen is people would get on board with the solution.
Right.
It would get solved, and then once it's solved, they don't have anything to report on. And once there's nothing to report on, the viewership goes down, the advertisement dollars go down, their pay
Hmm.
goes down. It's all about keeping those advertisement dollars coming in by keeping people watching, by keeping them angry. So that's
Yep.
why the media's never wants to solve any problems because then it would cause them problems.
Yep, exactly. At the end of the day, the media truly does not give a crap about society. At the end of the day, it's just about making that dollar. That's all it is at the end of the day. And people are just I don't know, people are too blind to that. Some people just give into anything that the media spoon feeds them. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I know anytime I hear about something happening with like, anything happens with, police interaction or something like that, I don't get outraged right away. I sit there and I wait until I get, actual context. Like I know me, I have to see body cam footage. You know what I mean? I got to see, dash cam footage, things like that. I have to see it from beginning to end, and then from there I can formulate, hey, was this right? Was this wrong? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like it's all about context. And salute real Chase Bait Gaming, man. If y'all haven't subbed up to his channel, please sub up to my boy's channel. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Like at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, I just say don't give into everything that the media tells you, man. I say, take it with a grain of salt, do your own research, and formulate your own opinion. You know what I mean?
And I would
That,
say too that usually the opposing side makes a good couple of points, and the trick is to extrapolate those points while getting rid of their bullshit. That
yep,
the left or the right, neither side is ever 100% correct, but most of the time, one of them has a larger percentage than the other. So the
yep,
trick is brushing away the bullshit, putting it together, and saying, okay, what's the actual solution here? Because it's usually not one or the other. It's
yep.
typically a large part of this and a little dash of this, and there's your fucking
Hmm.
solution.
Yep, that's why when it comes to both of those sides, both left and right leaning, I don't lean to either side. I'm in the fucking middle because the left, they there's things with them I don't agree with 100%, just like with the right. There's things with them I don't agree with 100%. So that's why I stay neutral. I take bits and pieces from one side, bits and pieces from the other side, and I formulate my opinion from that. You know, it makes no sense to go fully one way and fully the other way when both sides have compelling arguments.
Right. I think I lean to the left, but it's just a lean. It's just a small lean. I don't run to the left. I don't dash to the left. I don't charge full on into the left. I'll stand in the middle and then I lean just a little bit to make myself a little more comfortable. I just lean a little bit. And I think that's fine. But yeah, some people, man, they just want to be that person. Like, oh dude, I overheard this thing when I'm a busser, right? So I'm bussing tables and there's this white girl going on so annoyingly, and the guy who's on the date with her, he's trying so hard to be reasonable, and they're talking about like trans people in sports, and he's basically says that like he talks about the South Park thing, because South Park did a really good bit using Macho Man Randy
Yes,
Savage as a
I
as an
remember that.
example, and
That I'm not gonna lie, that shit was actually funny as fuck. I'm not even gonna lie.
and like they do that, like they have like nothing but bad episodes all year, but they have these two gems like out of
Yeah.
every year, and but yeah, dude, that was a good episode. It made a really valid point, and he was kind of trying to bring that up to her. And at one point, she said, "How would they know? I bet you they." And she starts going on about how um, they don't have the right to say that because they don't have any LGBT representation on the show.
What?
Yeah. And dude, I
Oh,
swear to God, I almost corrected that shit right then and there. Like I almost stopped what I was
oh
doing,
my
turned over,
god.
and smashed that shit down. But I was like, this isn't my business. I'm just gonna clean.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah,
Are you?
for those who don't know, one of the two creators is gay, and he's
Yeah,
involved
so
in
I was gonna
every
be.
single show, every single episode, all of it.
I was gonna be like, first off, one of the creators is gay, so that's one. Two, they actually were speaking actual freaking facts. There were some things that they were saying in there that were actually factual, but that is a conversation for another show because I could break that down, but it's like, yo, people need to really do their research and before they start talking. Like, I just think some people need to like just before they talk, they need to fix their mouth just a little bit and think a little bit before they speak. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Like, man.
But yeah, dude, I had to tell somebody who could understand the annoyance I felt in that moment. And dude, he was being so fucking patient, man. And like I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, she's not that pretty. Yes, she's prettier than
Oh
she's because
god.
she was out of his league, but only by a little fucking bit. And I was like, dude, it's not worth
That's
it.
not worth it. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, bro, it ain't worth it. That is not worth the one night stand, bro. That is not worth the one night stand.
uh,
No. At that point I would have whispered in that dude's ear, get out.
I wanted to, but she never left the table.
Oh, I wonder, or just left a little note and said, "Get out," because like, dude, like, if she was gonna get like that, I would have just been like, "Bro, mm-mm. Dude, make up an excuse. Get out of there, dude. Like, you gotta go because I already know where this is gonna go. You gotta get out, bro. Get out. It's not worth it. Not worth the one night stand, man.
But
I'm just saying.
oh
Yeah.
man, but it has become. Oh, dude, I saw this article earlier today. I don't want to get too much into this, but it was interesting. The actor who plays Luna Lovegood came out in defense of J.K. Rowling, right? Why
Hmm.
is that significant? Because she had previously come out against J.K. Rowling. She was
Really?
she had originally come out and basically said, "I don't agree." She didn't come out again, but she's like, "I don't agree with her. I believe this. This is what I believe," and that was that. And then all this time later, she said, "Like I just wish people would get over it. Like this is this and this is that." And she is not an awful person for disagreeing with you, and like she just kind of got fed up with it. And I'm like, dude, how do you turn away people who are on your side? She started off on your side, and y'all persisted so much, so belligerently, that she just got fed up with you and was like, I'm no longer on your side."
Yeah.
And it's like she still believes what she believes, which is different than what JK believes, but it's like, dude, the insane attacks and the way people are against her, and I cannot stress this enough, but like all her money goes to charity. Like
Right. Yeah, I've heard
she
about
has her
that.
core money that she has, but the majority of the money she makes, she just gives to good of things because she just doesn't need it, doesn't want it. So
Yeah,
it's
I've
like,
been hearing about that. I've been hearing about how she basically, gives her money away to like LGBT charities. And but yet they still want to try to frame her as an enemy, but yet she's giving money to y'all, but to organizations that support y'all, but yet $20 says y'all motherfuckers don't even support those organizations. Y'all probably don't donate to those organizations. But yeah, J.K. Rowling is still the bad guy.
dude, and
Apparently, she's still a bad person.
there are so many times I will read things from various hip hop stars that the shit that they say against the LGBT community is so much worse. And I forget which guy it was who basically said that he'll always love his daughter, but he will not accept her sexuality. And
And
I was I was
I don't
just
even
like,
know.
what the fuck? And
And I just think with that sentiment, I'm just kind of like, what I always say when it comes to that is like, why do y'all care? Like, why do y'all care about who this person is sleeping with and their lifestyle choice? Like, if that's what that person wants to do and they grown, who gives a shit? Leave them the fuck alone. They're not fucking with you. They're not doing shit. They're not doing anything to pretty much impede on your way of life at all. So it's like, why are we making a big deal about someone's sexual orientation or somebody or their gender identity? Why do we even give a shit? I've never understood that. I've never understood why people get hyper focused on that crap when it's like there's other shit going on in the world. For starters, there's other shit going on in the world that's worse than this type of shit. You know what I mean? That's one. And two, again, if it's not fucking with your way of life, leave it alone. Keep it pushing. You're putting so much energy into someone's sexual orientation or their gender identity. You're putting so much energy into that when you can put more energy into building something. You know what I mean? You could put more energy into building another organization. You could be putting more energy into making more money. You could be putting more money into like what's something. Let me think of something. Oh, but you get my point. You could be
right.
doing something else right now, but instead you're sitting up here worrying about someone's sexual orientation and their gender identity. Now, I will say this: when it comes to like the whole thing with I guess with children transitioning, that right there is where I got to put my foot. That's right there. That's one of those things where I got to put my foot down. I gotta put my foot down on that part.
See, my attitude has always been this. Once they hit high school, if they want to start dressing and being identified as a certain way as a high schooler, I feel like you probably have a pretty good idea. And I say this because of one of the trans people I grew up with. By middle school, we all knew. We all
Yeah,
knew. And so if by high school comes around, this person wants to full on be she, that's fine. But there's a difference between that and certain medical procedures being done, um,
yeah, that
estrogen,
part,
all
that
that
part.
stuff. That starts making me feel uncomfortable because what if this person decides that they're just a drag queen?
Right,
What if
exactly.
what if
Because
this person decides that full on transitioning isn't for them, but by this point they've already done damage to their body that they can't undo? And
exactly that part right there. That's the part right there where I draw the line. That part is the whole surgery and the medical and the whole thing with the hormones and stuff. I'm a firm believer in if you want to do that stuff, that's fine, but wait till you're an adult. Don't try to do all that stuff as a kid, and then once you start making those changes and you regret it later on, all that shit's irreversible.
And see, this is where I had to unfortunately unfollow Mr. George Takei. I love George Takei as a performer. I always
Yeah.
will. He makes some very good points sometimes, but I think he goes way too far to the left. And one of the things that he said that very annoyed me was he goes on a big thing about how um, you know, there's this surgery for having larger penis. There's this surgery for having larger breasts. There's this surgery for this, and he's basically says there are all these gender affirming surgeries for heterosexuals. So why do you suddenly have a problem with it when it's transsexuals? And my first thought is, you cannot have any of those surgeries until you're 18.
Right. That's
A
one. And then go ahead, man.
a 17-year-old girl, a girl who is 5 days away from being 18, cannot go into a doctor's office and even get a consultation for um, enhancement surgery for augmentation for her breast. She can't even get the consultation 5 days before her birthday. She has to be 18 to do all this. And so it's like this is not a fair equation because it's making the point we're making, which is they should really wait till they're adults.
Yeah, and then not only that, top it off again. These some of these surgeries they're doing, especially the bottom surgery. Once that surgery is done, it is irreversible. It is irreversible. So that's why, like, when it comes to the surgery and stuff, like I say, wait till you're 18. Hell, I would even say wait till you're 21. But I mean, who am I to judge? Know what
Right.
I mean? Because I think at least by like I say at least by 21, you're a little bit more sure of who you are and like okay, that's what I want to do. You know, you're more sure of it when you're 21 versus when you're like 17, 18, when you're like versus 16, 17, 18 years old. You still don't have any idea what it's like to be an adult. You have no grasp on that. Because I think at least by 21, you have a little bit more grasp of what it's like to be an adult, especially if you have your own place, you're paying your rent, you're paying your car note, stuff like that, and you're having a job. I would think at that point that would be the perfect time if you want to do it. But 18 is kind of pushing it, but at the end of the day, that's the legal age. If that's what you want to do for sure, and you want to do it, go for it. Because I've seen enough stories where you have these kids that go and get these surgeries and then when they hit about 25, 26, they're sitting up here regretting it. And they're like in freaking tears. And then they end up deleting themselves. All because they had people from the outside influence them into getting surgeries.
Right.
And that's usually a lot of times why they're in a rush to get these surgeries because they have outside influences of people trying to push them to do those surgeries. I'm not saying that's always the case,
No,
but
no, but it
yeah,
happens enough that we need to be concerned.
yes, exactly. Because I'll
Eh,
tell you right now, if I have a child and let's say I have a son, right? And he identifies as a female. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna give him a little bit of pushback on that. And it's not to be a dick. It's not to be an asshole. Okay? The reason I'm giving him pushback is because I want him to be sure That's who they want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Because sometimes it's about fitting in, man. When you're,
Yeah.
especially when
Oh
you're
no, yeah,
young.
that's true. That's true. Because that was another thing I was gonna say too. I want to also make sure that it's not because they see their friends doing it, so they're like, you know what, I want to do it too. No, I
Right.
want to make sure that my kid is sound in mind and making sure they want to make a decision like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. 'Cause sometimes people will look at something and say, those people look happy. If I'm a part of that, I'll be happy too. And they don't realize
Right.
is that what the reason they're happy is because that's their truth. And
Yep.
you have to discover what your truth is to finally become happy. And it may not be their same path. It might be a similar path. It might be a path for a while and then it diverges. You don't really know. And yeah, so there are some people who they're in a rush to feel accepted, and they feel like once I'm a part of this, everything's going to be perfect, and like, and then they get there and they find out that this isn't what they were looking for,
Yeah.
and it's and not ever, like I said, because like when I talked about the person that I grew up with, we all knew, that person knew, there was no denying. By like by like seventh grade, everybody knew that this person was going to be transgendered. It wasn't even a question. And that doesn't mean that I think that they should have been allowed to have access to this, that, or the other thing. But like I said, it does mean that agree when people say I've always known I was something else because I've seen it in real life. But just because it happened with that one person, like in all my people, all the people I grew up with, only one person we could say for certain was going to be transgendered.
Yeah. And yeah, and like I said, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Just like I said, I'm just a firm believer in if you want to do that, at least wait till you're an adult. That's all I'm saying. And parents shouldn't be in a rush to start allowing their kids to transition just because they want to be like, oh, look at me, I'm progressive. At that point, you're trying to do that more for you as opposed to doing that for your child.
And I'm tired of being told that I'm denying their existence by telling them that they shouldn't be allowed to do this. And it's like I'm acknowledging their existence as children because their
Right.
existence as a child is the first and foremost thing. All the rest of that comes next. And it even down to like the courts, everything. It all comes down to what's best for the fucking child, first and
Exactly,
foremost.
dude. This is why I always the one thing I always preach. Let kids be kids. Just let them be kids. Let them figure that out for themselves. That's something that I always preach, man. Let kids be kids. Let them figure it out for themselves. That's it. There shouldn't be anything else after that. Just let them figure it out. And I know it sounds messed up when I say it, but my thing is this: if we keep holding their hands and guiding them all the time, then they're gonna keep expecting it. Because at that point, we're enabling them in a sense. You know what I mean? Like I just feel
Right.
like a lot of times when it comes to kids, I say if let's say that they are saying that they identify as they're trans. Again, I still say give them a little bit of pushback because you want to be sure that this is what they really want. You know, if it gets to that age where you've already given them enough pushback and they're doubling down on it and they're standing on it. At that point, uh, that's who they are. At the end of the day, that's just who they are. You know, because I can tell you one thing I'm not going to do. That I've seen a lot of parents that I've seen some parents that are against this. They just overall just kind of cut off communication with their kids, or they just shame them, and whatnot. And it's just kind of like that's the last thing they really need is to be shamed.
I saw this great thing. A friend of mine had shared it on Facebook. It was a few years back. It was like a big church, and it was like a big Southern black church, right? And the guy's going up there, and he starts giving his speech, and I guess he's like a visiting pastor, whatever. But he's giving his big thing, and he talks about parents who kick out their children because they're gay and stuff like that. And he starts throwing it in their face. He's like, "You think that's what God wants? You think this is that?" And blah blah blah. And like he's like, "I'm about to say something that's about to make y'all mad." And he kept saying that, "I'm about to make y'all mad." And he was saying just what any parent needs to hear: you love your baby. you don't kick them out because they're gay. That is not what the fuck
Exactly.
God would ever have wanted. Like he stood in God's house and said, "This is not the way." And
Hmm. I agree.
I thought that was great because it's like it's one thing for you and me to sit here and say it. At the end of the day, we're just jerking each other off. Like, oh, do you agree with me? I agree with me too. Let's just agree with each other. How fantastic! But for this
Yeah.
guy to stand in front of a bunch of people who don't want to hear that, but need to hear that, like, yeah, dude, that was like, yeah, you tell them motherfuckers.
Yeah, and I'll say straight up, like anybody that does come across to watch the replay, to me, I don't care if you agree with my points. At the end of the day, that's where I stand. That's just where I stand at that point. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to agree with me. I don't. In fact, I don't want everybody to agree with me. Because I don't like echo chambers. Like if you disagree with me on something, cool. I'd rather you disagree with me on something than agree with me on every little thing I'm saying. Because if I'm saying something and it's dead wrong, and you allow me to get away with saying it, at that point you don't have my best interest and you ain't shit.
And also, I will say this in regards to our opinions, they will change.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Five
Like
years from now, you and me might go and rewatch some of these, and we're gonna have to pause it and go like, "Here's why he was wrong," and we're talking about ourselves. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna have
but
stuff that comes in and moves me and pushes me this direction or that direction, or even just there may be societal changes that make my current point of view irrelevant, and I have to alter it. So it's like, and it's just like if you come to me with something that is significant and has facts and whatever behind it, and I look at this like that's going to alter how I see things because I don't know it all. In fact, I don't know jack.
yeah,
So I'm going to keep learning, keep whatever. And so whereas we might say we agree with this now, you might bring something new to the table where that makes us go, oh, of course, why didn't I think of it that way? And that's how we grow. And if you don't have those moments in life, you're probably part of the problem.
that or you just need a sensu bean.
Bean! Sensu bean!
I'm just saying that
Uh,
probably all you need is a sensu bean. But
Somewhere downstairs, I have some senzu beans.
nice.
They're
Oh
little
my
green
god.
jelly beans that I bought from the comic book store.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go see if my girl was cooking up some sensu beans right now because I smell something cooking. So yeah, that being said, man, probably just go ahead and end it right here, dude.
Yep.
Of course, as always, man, I do enjoy having you on the stream. And of course, you already know you're always welcome back anytime, dude. Anytime you want to come on the stream, just hit me up, dude. And just FYI, this subject was requested by my boy Johnny. I wasn't gonna do a show today, but he convinced me to do it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
And I'm glad we did it because it's somebody somewhere out there has to be reasonable, and it's it can't just be ABBA and preach.
No, and I love Abba and Preach, by the way, dude.
Oh
Shout out to those dudes because let me tell you something. Abba and Preach drop gems on almost every single video that they have. They drop fucking gems, man.
and I yell at a lot of their videos because I be disagreeing with some of the shit they say. I'm like, "How about I tell you something?" I'm just yelling at the screen or whatever, and so it's
Yeah.
like again, you don't agree with everything everybody says, but they've got a level head about so much of what they say, and that's what
Oh
I
yeah.
try to be. It's just I try to keep that level head even when you get angry. Give your time self time to be angry, and then let the anger go long enough to do something productive with it instead of destructive.
Exactly, man. Well, with that being said, ready to get up out this bitch?
Oh yeah.
All right, man. So with that being said, it's your boy Darkstar Menace and my boy Johnny D, and we out. Just before we do, I'm gonna let Bane take it away.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.